That's
How
perfect. That's good. How you doing, Dr. Wesley?
about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited for this talk we're about to get into. I know that article in our recent issue of the Final Call newspaper. That first of all, I just want to say that it was fantastic. I read it myself twice over. Absolutely
Appreciate
fantastic.
it.
But for those who don't
Thank
know, would you mind introducing yourself?
you. Brother Wesley, for the Honorable Brother Mr. Farrakhan. That's all I got.
That's good enough. And this
Um,
week's issue,
my blessing is that in
mm,
this hour, I'm blessed to stand with God's man. That's a blessing.
that is a blessing, yes, sir. Most definitely. And in this week's issue of the Final Call newspaper, your article, and I want people to, why blacks cannot trust the Pfizer vaccine, just go into what inspired you to write this piece, aside from informing the public about the, uh, the vaccine here.
I'm sorry I lost you. I think we were buffering. Go into what?
Go into what motivated you, inspired you into writing the piece that you have for the Final Call newspaper this week.
Yes, ma'am. Well, as is obvious, our enemy is doing a full court press on us. The central narrative that's being circulated 24 hours a day is black people, our need for this vaccine, and their need to overcome vaccine hesitancy
Right.
among black. This narrative is shoved down our throat, it's shoved down the world's throat. There's a full court press to move us to the front of the line. Now, be clear, black life never mattered to this country. That's why we are around the country protesting, crying, Black Lives Matter. Because
Mm-hmm.
every day we wake up, this country lets us know how valueless black life is. And then we
Precisely.
woke up and found out this country thinks black life matters more than white life. So much so that they want us to be at the front of the line for this life-saving vaccine. No, it doesn't work that way. We know that as black life didn't matter yesterday to them,
Mm-hmm.
black life doesn't matter today. So why do they want us to cut to the front of the line of this vaccine? So they are in a full court press to get us to the front of the line. The Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan has his executive council, has the Nation of Islam on a full court press with him as point
Mm-hmm.
guard, leading the way, full court press back. We are not taking your vaccine. Now, we understand that black people are very scared. The fear tactic has been profoundly successful among us. So too many of us are anxious to get in the line. So when our people hear we are not taking your vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
they want to know why. So we are providing the critical empirical data demonstrating beyond all shadow of a doubt that we cannot trust this government, black people.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot trust, we have no right to trust this government. We cannot trust this vaccine. And we cannot trust Pfizer, who is the first to the punch to deliver this syringe of death to black people. That's
Yes,
why.
sir. Beautifully
Honorable
put.
Archon gave me a call and he put me and Dr. Ava and others on this assignment to go
Mm-hmm.
full court press back to their full court press.
Yes, sir. And we appreciate very much for that work and effort that you put into this piece. It was absolutely phenomenal. And to backtrack, I'm going to go into some questions to talk a little bit about the history. So you exposed Pfizer and their wicked practices on the people in Nigeria. This was the part that really blew my mind here. Can you expound on exactly what they did and how they are allowed to practice medicine like this?
Yeah. Well, they are allowed to practice medical experimentation on black, brown, red, and yellow people around the globe because the colonial thinking that the colonies are the laboratory to the Western nations. When Europe had colonies all over Africa and Asia, they understood the colonies to be their laboratory and the natives of the colonies to be their guinea pigs. So all through the period of colonialism, the most horrendous medical experiments were taking place in Africa, in Asia, by these Western colonial nations because the colony is a laboratory. That thinking, colonialism is a thing of the past, but neo-colonialism is still here. And the thinking that the colony, the neo-colony, is the laboratory is still the order of the day. So with American companies, the FDA, the Medical Ethics Board, encourages companies to offshore their risky and dangerous clinical trials. There is so much red tape for a clinical trial here in America. And the clinical trial, of course, is a human trial. When they advance from experimenting on mice in a lab, when they want to move it to human experimentation, that's a clinical trial. But there's so much red tape to do clinical trials here because at least theoretically,
right,
America wants to protect her citizens, her white citizens. But the red tape that protects theoretically citizens in America from reckless and irresponsible medical experimentation here, that red tape does not exist if these American companies offshore their projects. So most of the clinical trials that are done by these American companies, they are done in Africa, they are done in Asia, where there is little oversight. The protocols and procedures that protect the human life here, they are not bound by those in their colonies. So these companies have a license, have a green light to take all of their dirtiest, most dastardly human experiments, offshore them to Africa and Asia. And now, one caveat, and I'll close this point. The ethical boards and the red tapes here in America bind these companies to a degree when the volunteers are white people. But as we know from our sister who wrote Medical Apartheid, those laws never apply to protect black people in America, brown people in America. So the type of medical experimentation that was done in Nigeria by Pfizer in '96, Pfizer and her allies conduct those same horrendous medical experiments on black people in America. So we cannot trust Pfizer or Moderna or any of them.
You know, I'm gonna move a little bit forward, then I'm gonna go back in regards to the images of black faces being more popular in administrating and receiving these COVID-19 vaccines. First thing that we see on the news when it came out, black nurse given the COVID-19. I mean, it's all over the place. First thing that we see. But like you said, in 1996, a totally different story where you would have white doctors administrating to, you know, whomever.
No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no. It's the same story. I call it the Nurse Eunice Rivers strategy. Nurse Eunice Rivers was the nurse who was the face of the Tuskegee experiment. The Tuskegee
Right.
were white scientists of evil experimenting on black men, but the
Mm-hmm.
mask of that experiment was the face of a Gentile or gentle black woman, Nurse Eunice Rivers. That's the strategy that they have continued to employ in Nigeria. The Kano experiment, Pfizer ran that horrendous experiment out of its
Right.
office. The face of that experiment was a black man, Dr. Abdul Hamid Esau Dutzy. He was
Mm-hmm.
the Eunice Rivers of Kano, Nigeria. So there's always a black face to mask the sinister plot. Today, it is our sister, Dr. Kesmikia Corbett. She's a brilliant sister, but she has been made the face of the COVID-19 vaccine experiment because all of these vaccines are still experimental. We are engaged right now in the last clinical trial of these vaccines, and this is why black people are asked to cut the line. We are moved to the front line, not
Right.
for approving life-saving medication, but we are moved to the front of the line for the last phase of a clinical trial, an experimental trial. And the face of the narrative, the face of the trial is a black face. Black face, these medical experiments are masked by the rhetoric of racial justice, right? Black people have been denied medical services all these years. We want to correct that all of a sudden. And we correct that by sticking this needle in black arms first, ergo our sister Sandra Lindsay. So we are witnessing the Nurse Eunice Rivers strategy. It worked with Tuskegee. It worked in Kano, Nigeria. It always works. They always mask their evil with a black face. Always.
Same face, same narrative, yet the same exact push.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Because
There you have it.
the white man is very practical. What is not broken, don't fix. What continues working for you, you continue going with. And black people, well, not black, the Negro continuously ensures the success of our enemy strategies. There is no reason for him to switch playbooks or switch pages in his books because they work.
That's kind of an insult, isn't it?
We should be insulted.
Yeah.
We should be self-insulted. The distinguishing characteristic of the Negro versus a black man and woman, the Negro has lost his shame. The Negro can't be shamed. The Negro can't be insulted. The Negro.
Oh man. Oh, that was a good. That's a good one. I almost have me tickled. But to move along, in your article, you point out that Pfizer's goals seem to be profit-driven and not really focused on a cure, of course. So, how does economics and Wall Street fit into this equation for a race for a vaccine?
Oh, this is the biggest cash windfall for all of these companies involved. Each company Pfizer, Moderna, Immuno Biotech. All of these companies got billion-dollar contracts to produce vaccines, trial vaccines, billion-dollar contracts from the government, from multiple governments, to produce trial vaccines in quantity with no guarantee that they will be used, but it doesn't matter. They suffer nothing if the vaccines are scrapped, like happened in Australia, $750 million scrap, because they found that that vaccine produces HIV positive results. They are protected. All of these producers of the vaccine are totally protected from any consequences should there be any negative effects of the vaccine. They're totally indemnified. So they got not million, dollar contract to produce vaccines that they don't have to worry whatever happens to the vaccines, and they have no worry of what their vaccine does to anybody. This is the biggest cash windfall in pharmaceuticals. Yeah, they cashing out.
Makes sense.
They're cashing out.
Makes sense. And you also pointed out, okay, I'm sorry.
This vaccine is given free, right? The vaccine is given free. Just like the flu vaccine. No, you don't pay for it. This is a free shot. Just like the flu vaccine. If you live in a black neighborhood, I know at your whatever major grocery store is yours, you see the big sign, free flu shots. CVS, Walgreens, and black neighborhoods, free flu shots. Now,
Walmart, everywhere.
Walmart, free shots. Now, the white man is not inclined to give the Negro anything free except there's a insidious string attached to it. And in this case, the string isn't attached to the syringe. The string is within the syringe. And so these COVID killing vaccines that we're hearing about, with this new technology, this cutting edge technology, with billions of dollars invested in it, but you're going to give it to people for free. And more than that, you're going to give it to the black man and woman for free. Y'all really love us.
Yeah.
So if they are giving what the government invested $1 billion to produce, and they are aggressively trying to get black people to receive it for free, then we should know what this thing is about.
And how much money they spent in keeping it refrigerated. I recently saw this on the news where they invested so much in storing it. And I was like, this is brand new. How do you all know about the temperatures and whatnot and how long it's going to last?
But that's a very important point. It's not even about the money, because what's more important to me, in my opinion, the very complicated, exquisite process of storing and delivering these vaccines. And they're delivered in batches. The process of affecting the quality of the vaccine is so intricate. If at any stage there's a malfunction, if at any stage in this very intricate, sophisticated process, if there is a neglect, whole batches will be lost. But what do you think will happen to those batches that are spoiled because some step in that very delicate process was missed? All these batches are lost. What do you think is going to happen with those spoiled batches? You think they're going to be just tossed out?
Oh,
No,
absolutely not.
They're going to
Right.
show at my Walgreens. Those spoiled batches, they are not going to be just tossed. They are going to be directed to zip codes. Because that's how they do. They wage war by zip codes. That's why segregation is so important to this country. That's why in 2020, the country is more scientifically segregated than in 1954. Because segregation serves a scientific purpose, concentration of blackness. And so when all of these, because this process, they don't even have the equipment. What's expensive is the freezer required to store these vaccines at these outrageous temperatures. Most states will have a few, but my local Walgreens ain't got that. So when are we live?
Yes, sir, we're live.
Because people are saying they're waiting, but do I need to do something to put it on my page?
I wouldn't think so. If you saved it to IGTV, then you would be able to just, post it on your own.
Oh, but it wouldn't be live on mine?
I'd hope it'd be live on yours.
Because people
are saying that they're not.
Yeah, they don't have it.
Okay, folks, we're going to rectify this technical difficulty if you're having it.
Oh, it's up. That's it. All right.
Okay, cool.
All right. But so, in any case, when there's a lapse in that, and they call it the cold chain.
Right.
The chain of processes necessary to protect that. If there is a lapse, and if these local pharmacies don't have the right equipment, then they're still administering those spoiled vaccines. But those vaccines will be administered to America's faithful guinea pigs, the so-called Negro. Yeah, the white man is a scientist. The Negro is his science project.
Gotcha. So I'll be going to Jewel Osco, interrogated to take the test.
No.
I see that.
Jewel Osco is one of, and since you mentioned it, there's a very notorious Jewel Osco.
Oh boy.
City of Chicago. You walk or drive on the parking lot, you smell rotten produce, food. It stinks. It's in the heart of the hood. And this particular Jewel Osco, they is clearly selling our people death. They keep a 10-foot, it seems, banner looking over or hanging right in front of the main street that black folk here in Chicago travel. A big, huge banner. Get your free flu shot. Yeah.
They have their nerve.
Yeah. Well, no, they have their agenda. They have their agenda. The government has its agenda, and these pharmacies are all in all of these places cogs in the bigger machine. They get their orders from top down. So with as greedy as Big Pharma is, See,
Mm-hmm.
big pharma is greedy, but they're giving all this stuff away for free. That's because greed is a motive, but it's a secondary motive. There is a motive that takes precedence over greed. Otherwise, they wouldn't be giving and begging so many people to freely receive their product. It's because their product has another aim other than money.
Mm. Very
And
interesting.
it's not philanthropy. This ain't philanthropy.
Mm-hmm.
Scientific wickedness.
Yes, sir. So to move the discussion along a little bit, you also pointed out DARPA's, I'm gonna just say for short, role in the vaccine and how it really is under the umbrella of military technology.
Yeah.
Can you expound on that?
Absolutely. That's what this vaccine is. It's a military science platform. DARPA, Department of Advanced Research Projects Agency. That's a
Right.
secretive Pentagon agency whose main task is to make scientific fantasies a reality. The craziest military scientific thoughts is their task to make them a reality. But DARPA doesn't actually do the creation themselves. DARPA outsources the creation of their projects, of their ideas. DARPA outsources those projects. They outsources them. DARPA outsources the projects to the academy, universities. Certain universities have long-standing relationships with DARPA. They do DARPA projects. They outsource to military contractors such as Pfizer and Moderna. Pfizer and Moderna are military contractors. The RNA, messenger RNA vaccine platform, which is Pfizer's vaccine and Moderna's vaccine. DARPA, that's DARPA's military science. DARPA had the idea that they wanted a vaccine platform that instead of externally introduces an antigen into the body, triggering the immune response, DARPA had the bright idea of a vaccine or a platform that will generate the antigen internally. DARPA approached and funded Pfizer first and secondarily Moderna to do the research and development and make that vision a reality.
Right.
DARPA funded Pfizer, funded Moderna, and that's how we got the messenger RNA vaccine platform. But it's DARPA's platform. It's their military science, which is why this whole vaccine rollout is a military operation. Operation Warp Speed is a military operation. This whole project is military. There are some meetings, there's some meetings, some COVID-19 vaccine meetings that the leading health officials aren't allowed in. They're totally military meetings. But it's about the COVID vaccines, but the health officials aren't allowed in the meetings because Operation Weed is a military operation. The vaccine platform is military science. The funding for this operation is military funds. And the objective, that's how you know the objective of these vaccines is not public health. This is not a public health phenomenon that we're witnessing. This is not a public health operation that we are witnessing and some of us are engaged in. This is literally a military operation that we're witnessing, in a military operation that our dear sister Sandra Lindsay in New York was proud to be the first victim of.
It makes you pity in a little, and you know, when you think about it and hearing from you the background information about it, it just makes you look in pity about the whole situation.
Look what?
It makes you think pitiful about the situation, about us. Well, those who are unfortunate in receiving the vaccine like that.
Yeah, but pity, as in pity the fool. By which I mean this. On July 4th, 2020, the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan spoke to the, gave clear guidance. We have no right to trust them and their vaccine. He gave clear instructions. We are not taking your vaccine. Now, that guidance came from a man who has 67 years of faithful warning to Black people. 67.
That's right.
Those who are so foolish to disregard that guidance, well, we can pity them, but in a Mr. T type of way of pitying the fool. Because in 2020, the fact of the matter is there was always going to be severe consequences for the rejection of God's messenger, the callous and irresponsible treatment of God's messenger, and his guidance. And I have to say this, since we're talking about pitying the fool, I gotta be careful. I don't want to go too far, but we have to be candid. COVID-19 started as a white affliction. Now it's very much a Black epidemic.
Sure is.
Black people are devastated when it hits us. It hits us harder than it hits the average white person.
Why?
Black people have been made predisposed to devastation by this virus. But look, the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan revealed to us that this virus and this pandemic is a pandemic from heaven. So God is in control of it, as we heard from the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan on Saturday. He mentioned how in the Caribbean isn't hit like America and Europe is hit. Africa, we are a year into this pandemic, and Africa has remarkably dodged the bullet in the way that angers white scientists. They are trying to figure out, how is it that Africa is seemingly so protected from the virus? Africa, Europe is hit, America is hit. The Caribbean and Africa seems to be protected, but so you could say, well, that makes sense, being that this is a pestilence from heaven. God is controlling it. God is directing it against his enemies and sparing people, except the Black man and woman in America. The black man and woman in America is devastated. So we have to reflect on that. Why
Keywords.
Africa is spared devastation? Why is African America not spared devastation? I would suggest this as I close this point. African America was visited by God. Africa America, black people in America was given clear guidelines and instructions that could have protected us from all of this carnage. But we, not Africa, not the Caribbean, the black man and woman in America, we are guilty of rejecting God's man who gave us guidance and healing. We wanted Dr. Sebi and his chickpea over the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his Navy bean. That's real. That's real.
Yeah.
And so we are predisposed to devastation by this virus, and Allah is allowing this biological hammer to come down on our heads. It's because there was always going to be a time of reckoning for us, for our rejection of God's man, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan. We're here.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, and on that note, I'm going to move into the last question that I have for this discussion here. You pointed out in your article that Pfizer in 2011 began making payments on a $75 million settlement to Nigeria. How can these corporations like Pfizer and Moderna get fined millions of dollars, which confirms their wicked practices, and yet continue to be trusted?
Well, keeping the people ignorant of that history, ignorant of the. So the average black person thinks Pfizer is friendly. Pfizer is just a pharmaceutical company that makes medicines. No, Pfizer is a corporation of wicked sons on behalf of the U.S. military. But even when you share that information,
right,
that ain't no never mind to the Negro. The Negro has been made so reliable to the enemy. The enemy trusts the Negro to trust him regardless of whom or what. And I close on this. This is, see, by Negro, I mean Ferdinand the Bull. See, the Negro is the product of what I call Operation Ferdinand. Remember, Ferdinand the Bull is that character in the children's story.
Right, yeah.
Big mega beast, in fact, the biggest among his peers, and they accidentally saw that Ferdinand was capable of great ferocity. I think a bee stung him or whatever, but Ferdinand is such a nice guy. Ferdinand the Bull wants to do nothing but sit under trees and smell his flowers, you know, like the cannabis flower.
Right.
That's another story. But look, Ferdinand, he's such a nice guy. He's preoccupied with only smelling his flowers. And it doesn't matter what the matador does to Ferdinand. Ferdinand does not want to fight. Ferdinand is he's incapable of being insulted. He's incapable of being offended. He's incapable of being triggered to fight his tormentor. That's the Negro. That's the Negro. The Negro is the product of white science. Negro is. The so-called Negro in America. The Negro man and the Negro woman is a product of white science. And so even when we share the information, the Negro won't be offended by what Pfizer did in Nigeria. The Negro ain't offended by what the Department of Public Health did in Tuskegee, did in Guatemala, and Puerto Rico. The Negro doesn't care. The Negro still trusts his and her enemy. And this is why you have these black mouthpieces on TV trying to overcome the black vaccine hesitancy. And one of the talking points of these talking heads is, yeah, Tuskegee happened, but we moved on.
Right.
See, they're telling us, don't be offended by Tuskegee. Don't be offended by Hana. Don't be offended by Puerto Rico and Guatemala. Don't be offended by Johns Hopkins University. Don't be
offended
by the evil done to you. Continue trusting the matador so he can jab it in your side yet again, Ferdinand, because I got that flower for you. I did make that flower available for you, Ferdinand. You can smell it all you want. So don't worry, be happy.
Oh my God. When you put it that way, it's well, like you said earlier, it's practical for the enemy. There's no reason to change.
He's very practical. He's very scientific. The white man is a scientist, and the Negro is his science project. May Allah protect Sister Sandra Lindsay, who was the first American to receive Pfizer's shot.
Wow. Well, and on that note, you all heard it first, brothers and sisters, from Dr. Wesley Muhammad with Sister Tarika from National Network View. Thank you again, Dr. Wesley, for joining us and giving us this. Man, powerful is an understatement to explain that testimony right there, as well as the article. Powerful is an understatement. Okay, I think his connection had temporarily gone out. Okay, brothers and sisters, as soon as we get this sorted out and he comes back on, if it's not my end. Again, you can touch base with us on National Network View in our bio. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications as well. Thank you for joining us.